Hello, beautiful lovers, and welcome back to Erotic Wisdom, the fascinating wonderment to be living in a body. Traditional tantric wisdom for modern living and loving. And today I'm here on my own again. I'm Mrs. Love, your host, and I'm offering you another solo cast because I've been really busy hosting retreats and haven't had the opportunity to organize guests. So, nevertheless, I've got something really intriguing to share with you. And I just thought I'd make the episode today about the magnificence of Maleficent. The other night I ended up at the movie house, which is a very rare thing for me to do, to go to the cinema with my daughter, and there was the sequel of the movie Maleficent, which I always thought was an horror movie, by the way, for a few years until my 10 years old daughter initiated me into the fact that it's a Disney movie. And what I saw really struck me as a beautiful symbology to express the language of Tantrism for modern living and loving. So here it is, I'm going to share it with you and just for fun. And then if you have the opportunity, go and watch the movie. I mean, it is an American blockbuster movie. It's profound because if you have eyes to see it, like it was for me, I noticed it kept coming in my reflection and in my meditation, the clarity of the symbology. And I share it with you because also it belongs to the joyous part of this world awakening, this collective new wave that we are living. And it follows beautiful from my previous episode that spoke about unfucking the world, stop wanting to save the world. The world is already magnificent and is thriving. We are thriving. It just depends where you want to look towards. And so when I watched this movie, thinking there was a Disney movie, I also thought, wow, there are new teachings that are really coming through. So the first most powerful teaching is that we have the mistress of evil, which is actually the good lady, is our hero. And so that in the darkness, we find our heroes. Our heroes and our heroes. So, in the darkness, this is a big point in Tantrism because we find in God and the divine in the darkness, not in the light. I grew up Christian, and so there is a big stress around the light and the being of light and God sharing the light and moving towards the light and seeing the light and become enlightened. And it hasn't taken me anywhere, and I feel that brings a lot of anxiety to people to be perfect. Now in Tantrism, we understand that God is black and she lives in the darkness. And that's why Kali is dark, because she reflected the cosmos. And when we look out into space, the sky is dark. And from the darkness, we've got this tremendously beautiful display of a light explosion from the nebulas, the gases, the stars. So we understand that the light is generated from the darkness. And one of Shiva has a million names, and one of his names that I really like is the luminous darkness, the shimmering darkness, Prakash. The darkness, when you really look into the dark, you'll start to see the light. It's also the darkness that blinds you. It's so bright, the darkness. These are beautiful concepts, and Maleficent comes from the darkness. She wears black, and so she clearly represents the dark side. And it's beautiful that now we start to befriend the dark side. There is so much beauty in the darkness, also because the dark, it's always there. The darkness, it's always there. Light come and go within the darkness. The dark is the container. And so God must be in the darkness because God is forever present, is there before any movement that can come and go. God is ever present, therefore God lives in the darkness. This is how we are understanding as tantrics. You know, the light of the day come and then goes, and the darkness, there it is. When you go into a room, you switch on the light bulb, the room is dark, and then it's temporarily light up, and then it's dark again. So if we learn to be really comfortable in the darkness, out of the portion of our fear can start to settle. And we are comfortable with the truth that is always there, not with the truth that we choose in moment, how we dress it up, but the forever knowing that is endlessly present. That's the darkness. Okay, after this great introduction of dark, I have to say that the magnificent, we can call it magnificent darkness, because also for a while my tongue really twisted around Maleficent, and I kept calling her Magnificent, and it struck me how they sound so similar, magnificent, Maleficent. And she's truly magnificent, I feel. Besides, you know, the persona of Angelina Jolie, that is an actress, and then we go into the detail of personality. I'm really looking here at the symbology that is represented in the movie, all right? Not at the people, not at the humanity of it, the human character, okay? So I'm not going into the detail about the production house and then the acting. So, magnificent darkness, magnificent Maleficent, she lives in the forest, in the moors, I think they call it, in the bushes. And so this, of course, immediately reminds me of the depth of feminine sexuality. It's a bush, the bush between the legs, the bush that is coming back in vogue so much. It's dark and dingy and holds the mystery. And it's for the braves that are willing to enter the darkness without fear that the gift will be bestowed upon. And so for the ones, like in the movie, there are the poacher, the ones that come to take from the forest, they end up in a very bad way. They get killed by the roots of the trees. They get strangled by the roots of the tree, which I really love also, that symbology, how the tree becomes rope and becomes so dynamic, and we think that trees are so steady and static and have no personality, that are not alive, that we have to go into deep meditation to feel the aliveness of tree. Get over yourself. The tree watch you and feel you and observe you all the time. And so when this guy with bad intention, the poacher, they come into the forest to take the jewel, the magical jewels out of the forest. They're still in the fairies. And so when in sex we entering feminine sexuality, the female body, to get something, we are getting it really wrong, and we will be punished for it by reality at large. I mean, no, forget me, erase this. I don't want to say you will be punished for, but you might have some hard consequences, let's say that. There is no moral, really. But this is the point, that the deepest mystery of sexuality can be given as a gift for the one that enter this place with utter devotion and humbleness and surrender. Very important piece. But when we enter with aggressivity, when we enter to conquer, then things goes wrong and we're not getting the true treasure. So this was a beautiful symbology. And so, of course, we have the polarity in the movie, which is the polarity of reality. So magnificent Maleficent live in the dark bushes, and she's the wise one. So wisdom lives in the darkness, and wisdom needs to be searched for in the dark spaces within. Yeah, hold this thought. This is very important for everybody that is doing shadow work. That's what we really mean. You have to look for wisdom within yourself in the darkness of your being, because the gift of your wisdom are held there. So the other side, the other polarity, outside of the bushes, there is the light where the Christian gods live, and there are the castle, and where the knight, the Templar knight live in, the warrior of the goodness lives in. And the one thing that really struck me was how the castle are built prompting themselves upward, these really long towers penetrating the sky, penetrating reality, wanting to take up space in order to know. That symbology, and of course reminds me of the Gothic church, the house of God, which are very close to the house of the king, and they also have all this architecture that is going upwards towards the sky, reaching for God outside of me, far away from me, high up there in the faraway sky, as opposed to the tantric divinity that is in the darkness of the forest, where we go downward. And when we enter the forest in the movie, you can see it's almost like closing, the forest is closing into itself. It's a really dark dungeon. You almost have to crawl into it. And so as a symbology, for me, is really, really beautiful, because it really expresses the polarity of Tantrism towards religion, any religion that looks for gods outside of us and far away from us. And also the gods that judge, whether in the darkness, in the movie also, the judgment process in this particular movie take a long time. It take almost through the whole movie for Maleficent to make a call to judgment, to really decide what's the wise action to take. Whether in the white side, in the castle, the queen, she just knows. She doesn't meditate twice. She doesn't reflect. She doesn't introspect. She just knows from her mind, the clear mind of the religion's morality that knows. And I mean, again, I grew up Catholic, so we know that the Pope and the King are very close with each other. They both wear a crown. And so, you know, the King and the spiritual kingdom is the same things, you know. Spirituality is very moral and separate. So the queen, the beach queen in the white world, which is a beautiful Michelle Pfeiffer, by the way, with amazing glittering outfit, and she's polarizing the white. And what I thought was amazing, that finally we show that white doesn't necessarily mean to be good. You know, in this movie, we clearly see by the end that the black symbolize the growth, peace, forgiveness, unity, overcoming the ego for greater good. It's all in the darkness. And the darkness prevail. And the darkness doesn't mean has any negative connotation. That's, I found, was very beautiful and transformative and inspiring for me of our contemporary time. And so the white queen, the goodness queen, she's very clear to polarize good and bad, black and white, and to erect herself the judge of the good, the one that knows. And she doesn't sorry, I'm missing an English word here. But she doesn't take counsel from anybody else around her, not from the prince, not from the king, She hasn't got any counsel. It's just her alone. So that also for me shows strongly the ego, when the ego is very separated from totality, when the ego is disconnected. It makes really egoic choice which are empowered by separation and fear. I am alone against everybody, and therefore I'm so afraid that I'm going to attack and make war. And Maleficent, we see that finds community, and a community of individuated people that has, each and every one of them has value, as opposed to the castle with the white people where there is no real individuated talent. They are the masses, and she, the queen, is the only individuated being that knows everything. And this is a completely patriarchal polarization of power. And we have seen to this day that that doesn't really work. And we've got that into the president, the king, the pope. It's one at the top. And what I think is beautiful in the movie, that it's a she. So it doesn't have to be just male. Patriarchy is not about man. It's about a concept. And it can be embodied very powerful and very scaringly powerful by women. Like the movie really showed us. And interestingly enough, there is also the polarity that Maleficents get counseled by a man. And so they also show that you can find deep feminine wisdom in the body of a man. That was also very beautiful to see. And so let's not polarize masculine and feminine with male and female. This is the confusion that often happens. And so the castle, like the church, penetrate in order to know, and that reflect the masculine genital, as opposed the forest, the dark forest, that really reflect the feminine genital, where we have to enter the darkness, and it's scary to enter deep feminine sexuality because she's so mysterious, and we're gonna lose the boundary of our own ego. Also, we're gonna lose the reference of our own ego, and it feels like we're gonna die. And so that's why the darkness is scary, but only the ego will die, our sense of separation will die, and we might find beautiful unity and celebration and joyfulness. And again, out of this dark forest come the tremendous colors of the fairy. It's so beautiful to watch that the essence of the darkness is full colors. When the people of the forest come out, there's full color and celebration and sound and music and form and lightness of being. Everybody flies. There is a tremendous lightness of being. And in the castle, in the white expression of power, there is a lot of heaviness. There are the machine gun and the horse stomping and the machinery that are heavy, and the metal of the weapons. All the weapons are heavy, and the metal is heavy, and the outfit of the people are really heavy. Everybody's so grounded. It's an amazing polarity to see this. They're looking for God in the sky above them, and in that looking for the divine outside of them, reflecting such a heavy burden that they carry in the human expression. And even the queen wears an amazing outfit, but really heavy, full of jewel, an armature, arming. And the people of the forest, even Maleficent, wear this almost naked outfit all the time. And of course it's to show the beauty of the actress, but it's also interesting to notice the lightness of their outfit. And of course they've got wings and they fly. And when we meet the deep darkness inside of us, we liberate. When we know that God's, it's inside of us, it's not far away, we become alive, we become enlightened, meaning light, not light on a matter of weight. So they've got wings, they fly, but even the human that is invited by them, the garments are light and see-through and fresh and luminous. And that's what the darkness brings. And the wings are full of colors also. And so this is the polarity. And also what it makes me think, for the first time actually, I really noticed this. Surprisingly, it took me so much to notice that all this big tower in the castle are a lot of big penises, big phallus, with a crown at the top, the crown jewel, the crown of the king, looking for God outside of itself. And again, in masculine sexuality, which doesn't just belongs to men, hold this thought, because this activity belongs to women too. But in male sexuality, in masculine sexuality, there is this achievement that it's expressed in this orgasm and ejaculation, and the ejaculation happen outside of self. And this reminds me of this tower in the castle looking for God outside of themselves and offering themselves to God outside of themselves. Is that offering of the masculine seed, they ejaculate towards something outer than self. And so the opposite happens when instead of ejaculate, we learn to injaculate. Instead of expressing the juices of erotic ecstasy outside of the body, we learn to absorb that internally. And so for men, this looks like ejaculate retention and bringing the seed, the essence of self, back inside. And this is what happened in the moors, in the forest, when we go back inside of ourselves. And this is a movement that applies to women also. So please, I don't want this conversation now that turns out to look like female sexuality is all good, is in the darkness, and is tantric, and male masculinity it's judged for and it's somehow wrong. I'm not judging anything. I'm looking with fascinating wonderment about this beautiful symbology that reflect our inner movement as humanity. And many women behave within a context of masculine sexuality. I was one of them, by all means. And so we look into sublimate our sexuality with orgasm. And even in the tantric circle, now that we discover that women can ejaculate through the G-spot, there is a lot of stress and anxiety that now it's towards this importance of having to ejaculate to become someone, to become important. Which is really not so tantric anymore, even though many of these practices are called tantric massage for women, tantric ejaculation for women, are not really tantric when we're chasing it. And it is the chase I'm addressing here, the chase for finding self that is up in the sky with this big column and is outside of me. And so also in feminine sexuality, it looks like when I'm chasing a man that can love me and I have purpose, when I am loved by someone outside of me, when I'm appreciated by someone outside of me. And this is a classic in women. When I'm decorating my body, just like the White Queen was doing, with a lot of jewelry and a lot of garment to give myself self-importance, so that I can be seen and I find a place in the world. And so if you notice, all the beings in the darkness have no jewelry, they have no decoration, but their body expression is decorative, meaning that when I find myself, my beauty is intrinsic. And when the only decoration they use is body paint, which decorates the beautiful forms of the body or that are already there, instead of creating new forms that are not there. And so again, we see this in women that operate from a masculine point of view of sexuality when we go into plastic surgery. And so we adding what is not there already. It's like a big lingam growing outside of me, outside of my body. My sexuality become an erection that is visible to the outer world. And so I'm putting silicone in my breast to get them bigger and engorge and erect. And I use them to penetrate the world. I use my big breast so that instead of being surrendered inside of me, I am penetrating like this big castle tower to find God outside of me. And Botox in the face and Botox in the lips. It's a tremendous manipulation to engorge the symbol of my sexuality. And so my sexuality become a weapon that I can use in order to conquer and perhaps find peace. But then we know with war, there's never gonna be peace. So this conquering also belongs to the Knight Templar I mentioned before, that, appealed to the castle with the big cross. Read a little bit of history and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The endless war in the name of God, where we're looking to conquer a position of power, so we might find peace. When we liberate the land of God, there will be peace. And to this day, the Middle East is still at war. It's the most ravaged place by war on the planet, and is the place where the Templar invaded long times ago, maybe not thousands. I'm bad with maths here, but you know exactly what I talk about. And by conquering, we're never gonna find peace. And so in sexuality, by conquering, we're never gonna find our center. And so for men apply when they want to penetrate the body of woman to find themselves there, and in reality they become predator because they're so empty of themselves, and they just want to a body of woman to fulfill the empty gap that lives inside themselves. And women have this too. They put things on their body, or men inside their body, so that they can also fulfill the gaping emptiness that they sense because they cannot find themselves inside. And so the solution to this is to become the subject of our search, and instead of looking outward, is to come back within. And so look within your darkness, the places you never explore inside of you. So for men, very simply, is your anus. That's a dark opening that every man have, and they can start exploring them, because that will offer them vulnerability and deep intimacy with themselves. And for women is the same. They also can explore the anus and the yoni, come and move inside their own darkness with surrendered vulnerability. And this is for the people, the prince that in the movie that asked to marry the queen of the forest, he comes in love. That's his weapon. And he's so beautiful. He comes from the white world, from the world of conquering. And he enters the forest, and the forest supports him, and the forest is not his enemy. Why? Because he comes in complete humbleness. And he comes in love. He comes in the forest wearing the symbol of love. He's completely in love, and he declares his love. But this again is a symbology. And he doesn't come to conquer. He comes to offer himself to her with such kind gentleness. If you've seen the movie, it's so tender. It's so gentle. Can't help but love him. And he becomes the ally of the dark forces. And he's going to be the one that turns the history around. I don't want to ruin the ending of the movie. But that's another beautiful symbology. He goes on his knees to find her, the queen of the wild. He doesn't want to tame her. That's also so beautiful. He loves her for who she is, how she is, in the wildness, the enlightening wildness of her expression. Wildness means that she knows the way of nature. Doesn't mean she's a crazy nutter, but she knows the ways of nature, the river, the ferry. She befriended the wild, her own wild sexuality. And he goes there on his knees, surrendering himself, offering his light. That's why we offer a diamond ring for marriage. He offered the essence of himself, his luminous awareness. He offered that to her, the diamond of his essence. Diamond is luminous awareness, yeah? It's a symbol. And that's what he offered. And in tantric term, when a man penetrates a woman, a lingam enters a yoni, what he offers to her is his luminous awareness, not his ego that is looking for something, not his ego that looks for power to conquer inside of her, wanting to take. That's ego. No. He comes from the depth of his loving, his luminous, shining awareness, and he offers a diamond ring to her on his knees, trusting himself inside of her. And he knows that if she receives him, he will have everything he ever needs to understand reality. Because then she offers him her yes, the yes of a woman that is not afraid, the yes of a woman that is free in her own sexuality. That's the greater gift we can all offer the planet at large, the whole humanity. When feminine sexuality is not afraid, the land will give fruits and no one will starve anymore. Right now, the deepest feminine sexuality, it's afraid to express because, rightly so, our head and body have been cut out for years by religions that is so afraid of the wisdom of sexuality, the erotic wisdom of the Tantra. And so we had to hide in the forest. That's why Tantrism went underground to keep itself alive, like Maleficent lives in the forest so she can stay alive and survive until the time will be right for this deep wisdom to be fully received. And we are getting there. I mean, me talking to you in this way, it's beautiful. This Maleficent movie was so beautiful for me to receive this message. The time are ready. And the untamed feminine sexuality can come out of the darkness into the light of the day. We can be seen. And you know, in the movie also there is another moment where Maleficent goes for dinner in the palace. She's been invited outside of the forest, and her protege asks her to please wear a cloth over her horns, to cover the horns, not to scare the people. And she accepts. And that is going to be the point of pain. It's going to become a sore point that will create so much contraction. And that was another amazing, beautiful symbology for me to show us what happened when we hide our true form, our true sexuality, our true power, because we are afraid that it will scare the others. And you see what I've said? Because we are afraid that will scare the other. And if we decide that we are afraid, if we are already afraid, of course, it will scare the other, because that's where we're coming from. instead of coming out in the light, celebrating our true form. In this case, Maleficent has black horns. Oh my God, they are so beautiful. Yes, the human are not used of it, but if she decides that they are scary, they will be perceived with fear. But if we decide that we can celebrate them, well, this is where the beauty of Tantrism come in. Celebrate your true form, whatever that is. Don't make assumption that is ugly, that is going to be rejected, that people are not ready for it. These are all assumptions we make, and then we're going to create exactly that we fear. And that's what Maleficent created eventually. Fears and confrontation. And if we just wear with pride and glorious celebration the magnificence of the true form of the deepest wisdom that lives in the expression of our sexuality, then all be well. Amen. So I think this is it for today, my beautiful lover listener. Thank you for listening to me. It's an ecstatic joy to share this tantric wisdom with you. Please do rate me on iTunes. It means a lot for me. It's gonna make this podcast pretty visible. If you can give me some stars or just take a moment to write a short review, and we can spread this wisdom further and wider, and just expand in a world that can celebrate our magnificent intrinsic beauty. That's who we are. I'm excited, aren't you? So find me on www.eroticwisdom.com, and stay beautiful, stay loving, and keep protecting the dark mystery of feminine sexuality, because this is how we're gonna support a world that will bear so many joyous fruits for our expansion and for everybody enlightenment. Stay sweet. Ciao, lovers.